Good morning, artists. Mrs. Langless here. Hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving and a nice break. I'm back today with another animal drawing. By the way, great job on your fish drawings. Those were fantastic. Very realistic and colorful. So today we're going to be learning how to draw another animal using lines and shapes. And today we're going to focus in on a tortoise or turtle. So to do that, we're going to use an animal drawing sheet once again. Here's a picture of what it might look like when we're finished. Let's get started. So today you will need a piece of white paper and you'll need a pencil. I'm going to move this one out of the way so that we can go ahead and get started on this fresh sheet. Now I'm going to show you the animal drawing sheet and our first step. So if you take a look at the tortoise sheet or the turtle sheet, they're both a very similar species of animal. The first shape looks like this. Think about what shape that looks like most. Actually, it's a shape we used also for our fish. Today, once again, we're going to start with an oval for the main body shape. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to go ahead on my paper and I'm going to make a nice oval. Now, it might take you a couple of tries to get the oval that you want. Like, for example, I like this edge, but this edge is a little bit too wide. So what I'm going to do is use my eraser and fix it. You might also notice that I go kind of lightly with my lines. And the reason why I go light with my lines is that then it makes it much easier for me to erase, because I know I'm going to need to erase a lot. I make a lot of mistakes, probably more than I'd like to admit, but making mistakes is all part of learning and getting to be better at drawing as an artist. All right, so let's go back to that step number 1. I've got my oval. Now I notice that they added something else to the oval. There's a line right here. Now this line's really important because it shows where the shell is of the tortoise. So I'm going to go ahead and make that line right about here, and it kind of curves a little bit. And again, if you don't like the way it turns out the first time, like mine, go ahead and remake where you have it. So I just dropped it down a little bit lower. And now I'm going to come back and make these two little curving lines. They almost look like, the letter C maybe. So here, this one kind of looks like a C. See that? All right, and then I'm going to make another one right here. Okay, let's move on to step number 2. In this one, we start to see new parts of the animal appear. I see that now there are 2 legs. So maybe let's start with that first. So these legs look a little bit like rectangles, but they're also rounded on the edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the rectangle kind of come down out from the shell, and then it's going to curve at the end. There it is. And now I'm going to do the same thing in the back. So there is the back leg. Now, again, I want to make this a little bit longer so it looks like the other one. So I'm just going to make it a little bit longer and erase what I had done before. Great. So now that I'm happy with that, I want to look back at my sheet and see now I need to add the neck and the head. The neck kind of looks like a rectangle that's moving up out of the oval that we drew. So let's start with that first. Here is the first line of my neck, and then the second comes from right around here. So there it is. Okay, and then let's take a look at that head. This shape is definitely a rectangle. All right, here we go. I'm going to make my rectangle coming out and overlapping a little bit so it goes over the top of that. It's already starting to look like a turtle or a tortoise to me. So now I'm going to move on to step number 3. In step number 3, we see some new details appear. First off, I see an eye. Now, here's the tricky thing. This turtle only has one eye. But wait a minute. I thought turtles had 2 eyes, just like you and me. Why is it that there's only one eye here? Think about that for a minute. And while you're thinking about that, I'm also going to add the nose and the mouth. All right, let's go back to the eye. Why is it that I can only see one eye? Well, that's because this is a side view of my turtle. The other eye is on the other side. So just like if you were to look at yourself in the mirror, you know you have two eyes. But if you turn to the side, you'll only be able to see one. All right, let's go back to what we drew before. Here's our little mark for the nostril, and then we need a line for the mouth. Now, something kind of cool about turtles is, in this case, this tortoise, his top of his mouth hangs over the bottom, so it's a little bit shorter. It almost looks a little bit like a beak, like on a bird. Next, I notice that there's some detail lines. So there's a little bit of a line on his neck, showing that he's maybe a little bit wrinkly. Next, I notice there are lines showing where his little toes are. So I'm going to add those in. And then I'm going to go down to the bottom step. Now the next lines that I see that are added are some more kind of wrinkly lines right there, showing where his legs might bend. So I'm going to go ahead and add those in. Just nice details to make him look more real. And oh my goodness, I'm realizing I missed something. Did you catch that? I forgot to add the other foot that's just peeking out on the other side. So I'm going to go back and add that, coming out from here and going back. Okay. Now here's another interesting question. This tortoise has how many legs? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3. Well, I know that a tortoise has 4 legs. Where do you think that other leg could be? If you said it's on the other side of the animal, somewhere over here, where we can't see it, you'd be right. It is being overlapped and blocked out by his body. We know it's there, but we don't have to include it in our drawing because we can't see it. All right, now let's take a look back at this picture. There are some other details that I want to add that make him look more real. First, let's focus on the eye. Now, one thing I noticed is that they made a line above the line of the eye and below. So let's come back. I'm going to make a line above and then below. Kind of cool. It sort of makes his eye look like it almost like bulges out a little bit or sticks out. Again, making the turtle look more real. Another thing I noticed about that eye is that they fill it in. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to darken most of the eye, but I'm just going to leave a little white spot. That white spot is where the light is reflecting off his eye and makes him look really real. Take a look back. Now, I think we got all the details. Let's check it to make sure. But now something has to disappear. Some of these lines that we used up here were guidelines and now need to be erased. So take a look at the neck. I notice that this line down here needs to be erased. I also noticed that this line between the head and the neck needs to be erased. All right, let's check and see if I've got everything else. I think I do. So check over your artwork, see if you've got all the steps. Now, the next thing that we can look at is the shell. Now, in this little corner piece right here, this round circle, I don't know how well you can see it through the camera here, but this is the pattern of the tortoise shell or the texture, okay? So there's several different ways that you can make the spots on the shell or the pattern on the shell. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways right now. So one of the things that I sometimes do is just to make spots on the shell. So I just draw kind of like ovals or circles or maybe even squares at times, and I kind of just fit them into each other so that they move around the shell like this. Now, that looks more interesting, doesn't it? Now, another thing you can do to make it look even more real, just like the pattern that they show you on this piece of paper, is to continue that shape over and over again. And again, you don't have to do it this way, but if you'd like to try, you might just really like how it looks. So what I'm doing is I'm continuing to make the same shape over and over again. So watch this. I'm just following the same shape, but now it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I'm going to do this over and over again until all of those spots are full. Let's take a look at a different way that you can do it. So you can just leave, here's a drawing I did in the past. You can just leave it as spots. Or another way that you could do it, let's say that this is your turtle shell. Okay, I'm going to draw one real quick. Like, let's say that this is our turtle shell. His head would be popping out here and his legs, of course. Now, another way you could do it is just by making lines that go up and down, just like this. And then making lines that go across. That's kind of a cool pattern too on the turtle shell. All right, so wherever you want to go with that pattern, that is what you would do next. Now, once you're finished with the actual turtle, so let's pretend that all of these are finished, okay? You are going to work on the home for your turtle or the habitat. So think about for a minute. Oh, and I'm noticing some lines that I still need to erase. Oh my goodness, Mrs. Langless. See what I told you about making mistakes? It happens all the time. Got to get rid of those because I couldn't see through his leg in that one. All right, so now, next, when your turtle is all finished, you need to give him a home. Where does the turtle live? Last week, our fish lived underwater. This turtle usually lives near water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw, and you can make the turtle underwater swimming if you'd like. I'm going to make my turtle right at the edge of the water. So I'm just going to make a wavy line this time at the bottom edge of my paper, and I'm going to make some little wavy marks. Maybe I'll make a rock or two or maybe three. Then I might make some tall grass. I'm just going to make some tall blades of grass coming up. Maybe there's even a flower. Make some more grass. All right. Now, in the background, I think that I'm going to make another line to just show that he is walking on the ground. Maybe this is all the sand that's next to the water. Next, I'll draw a sun, making a circle. And then I'm going to make some clouds using a bumpy line going around. Now, your clouds may look very different from mine, and that's fine. Every time I make a cloud, it looks different. And if you look up in the sky, you'll notice that that's true in the sky as well. Now, I'm going to draw some birds that are very far away. Maybe there's seagulls coming toward the beach. Check out how they kind of look like the letter M, just a wide letter M. And it's pretty cool because they look like they're flying in the sky. Now, you can add more details to your artwork, whatever you want to put to create the home for your turtle. All right, when you are finished, just like last week, what I'd like you to do is to make your lines really stand out by tracing with a black marker. It could be a Sharpie or it could be a regular black marker. Now again, what I love about doing this is that it kind of creates a coloring sheet that will help you to color and stay inside your lines. One of the things that I want to point out before we move on is after you're done with tracing all of your lines with the Sharpie or with your black marker, you might notice that you've got some pencil lines left behind. Like I can see all these little pencil lines where I didn't quite stay on my lines, and that's okay. Now you take your eraser and you just clean it up a bit. So take the time to just erase, getting rid of all of those pencil lines. And then when you're all finished with that, you are done with today's work. Next week, we are going to talk more about coloring this. So hold on to your turtle drawing. And next week, we'll work on coloring. Hope you guys had fun making this turtle, and I'll look forward to seeing your amazing drawings. Make sure to take a picture and upload it to Seesaw or email it back to me so I can see what you've been up to. Hope you're all doing well. Take care.